Okay, do another reaction. Get this situated, get me there. Put this up there. Hello. And get this color situated, I guess. Green, alright. And a reaction to what if Yoda was on Coruscant during Revenge of the Sith? Again, by fantasy folklore. The channel will be in the description below as always. And subscribe to see more reactions. And let's get this started. And yeah. The channel will be in the description below if you want to see it.
What if Yoda was on Coruscant during Order 66? Let's begin today's story in the Jedi Council chambers. The Wookiees have just requested immediate assistance from the Jedi as they are under attack from the Separatists. In the original timeline, Yoda suggests himself for the mission as he has had relations with the Wookiees in the past. But let's say that this doesn't happen, and instead, they elect a different council member to go. In this story, High Council member Stras Ali is elected to go to Kashyyyk. Yoda wishes to stay on Coruscant at this time as he can sense the rising conflict, that the end of the war is near, and desires to be around Anakin as he embarks upon his secret mission to spy on the Chancellor. After the session, Obi-Wan tells Anakin about the secret assignment that the council wants him to conduct, and that it is to be kept off records. This upsets Anakin. He believed that the council was completely out of line and acting against the very fabric of the Jedi Code. Obi-Wan would inform Yoda that Anakin didn't respond well to his new assignment, but the Grand Master informed Obi-Wan to have faith in his apprentice. In Revenge of the Sith, Yoda left Coruscant at this point, but now that he is remaining on the planet, he could change the outlook of Skywalker's viewpoint. He summons Skywalker to a private session to speak with him just after their council meeting. He tells the boy that he hears that he doesn't like his new assignment. Anakin would respond and say that he was confused. It was treason to spy on the Chancellor, so why would they want him to do it? Unlike many other Jedi such as Mace Windu, Anakin actually respects Yoda and therefore will listen to the wisdom that he has to share. Yoda tells the boy that what he is about to say is to be kept to themselves. He says that the Jedi Council is very suspicious of Palpatine. The war has been going on far longer than it should have, and they are beginning to fear that someone from within is prolonging the conflict. He then reminds Anakin of what Count Dooku told Obi-Wan on Geonosis, that the Sith Lord is in control of the Senate. Although Yoda didn't believe that this person was Palpatine, his senses were informing him that something suspicious was happening in the Chancellor's office, and perhaps the Sith were controlling Palpatine. All the council wants him to do is report on the Chancellor's dealings, who he meets with, and how he spends his time. Of course, Yoda hopes he is innocent, but they are at war and they must investigate all possible scenarios. There is a traitor amongst them, he can sense it. Anakin nods and says,
Traitor? So I'm like an imposter amongst them. Among us? He's the imposter among us.
he will see what he can do. When Yoda explained it to Anakin, it made more sense. The Grand Master presented the assignment in a way that the Jedi were just exhausting all possible outcomes to see who the traitor was. The Chancellor was just one of them. But Anakin believes his close friend Palpatine is innocent. Anakin stands and walks towards the door. Before he leaves, Yoda calls out to Skywalker, causing the Chosen One to turn. He asks Anakin how his premonitions are since yesterday when they met. Anakin pauses and thinks about it. He needs to communicate these feelings with someone, and Yoda was trustworthy. He tells the Grand Master that since yesterday, they have gotten so much worse. He gets them during the day, and it's all he thinks about. Anakin appreciated his advice from yesterday, but he can't let go of everything he fears to lose, and with that, he leaves the room. Yoda remained very worried. Much cloudment and confusion surrounded Anakin in the Force. He could sense how much this was disturbing Anakin, and if Anakin wouldn't let go of this attachment, Yoda would have to show him another way. Anakin would be summoned by Chancellor Palpatine to the Opera, where he informs the boy that their spies have spotted General Grievous hiding in the Utapau system. Anakin thought back to his conversation with Yoda. He had to report on the Chancellor's dealings. Palpatine would follow the same steps as he did in Revenge of the Sith. He would tell Anakin that he knows the Jedi told him to spy on him, which would completely throw Anakin off and his guard dropped. When this happened, he would tell Anakin the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Anakin becomes very intrigued when he hears of a way to save others from death, and he knows that time is running out, and if he can't find another solution, perhaps he will follow in the footsteps of Darth Plagueis. The following day, a council meeting is held where Anakin is denied the opportunity to go to Utapau, even though Palpatine had requested it. The council votes that Obi-Wan will go instead, having much experience dueling Grievous during the Clone Wars. This visibly upsets Anakin, and Yoda could see the anger and rage swelling within him, alongside the other conflict that he was facing. Yoda was 1,000 years old, and he was extremely wise. He knew that Anakin's focus was slipping. He had to help the boy before it was too late. Yoda spends the rest of the council meeting thinking about Skywalker and his issue. Multiple times in the session, Yoda had to be snapped back into reality by other council members, to which Yoda would ask them to repeat what they were saying. Later that day, Yoda would summon Skywalker again. They go for a walk into the Jedi archives, and Anakin is curious what text he is going to show the boy. But instead of walking into an aisle full of texts and artifacts, they move towards the entrance of the restricted section. Anakin was completely confused and shocked, and told the Master he thought only Masters were allowed to be in here. Yoda chuckles to himself, and says that he is the Grand Master, and if he deems someone worthy of entering, then he has the power to do it. But he assures Anakin that this is a one-time thing, until he reaches the rank of Master. As they enter the restricted section, Yoda explains to Anakin that sensing the future is a unique ability only a few Jedi are gifted enough to have. The Grand Master explains to Anakin that he too can sense premonitions, although in the Force, it is called a Force vision. Yoda did explain how it takes him hours of focused concentration to use this ability, whereas Anakin's appeared more innate to his gifts. When he meditates, he can sense different scenarios that the future holds, and his mind runs wild. But he also explains to Anakin that caution is to be taken. The future isn't always set in stone and can be wrong many times. Until he trains and masters the ability, it can be very dangerous and lead them down the wrong path. Yoda takes Skywalker into the training quarters of the restricted section and uses the Force to summon a Jedi holocron all about Force vision. They spend the afternoon training. For hours on end, Anakin attempted to use Force vision, and he saw Padme die on repeat, which reminded him of the potential fate of his wife. The pain was unlike anything else, but Yoda explained to Anakin that he too experienced something similar over 600 years earlier, when he had a premonition of his home world getting blown up due to a neighboring star dying. He went absolutely crazy for weeks, obsessing over a way to save his people who were already nearing extinction. Eventually though, he found this holocron and learnt all about Force vision. With training, he was able to control the ability and discover that the vision was only a facade, only one possible future that could occur out of many, an externalization of his imagination. The Force acts in mysterious ways, Yoda adds, something he has learned numerous times across his grand life. Anakin continues his training. Yoda was arguably the best teacher in history, and this coupled with Anakin's innate talent for the Force meant that he was able to gain control over this ability quickly. After hours on end, Anakin made significant strides in understanding Force vision. Anakin was able to sense many futures, most of which where Padme successfully gives birth. The Force gave Anakin another possible scenario in order to warn him of the dark path he was embarking upon, and only if he altered his actions and allowed those around him to help him would he be able to save her. From the Force's perspective, he wasn't going to turn to the dark side anymore, and thus, the vision would not come into fruition. In essence, the Force had played tricks on his mind, and his wife was not in imminent danger. Anakin thanks Yoda for all of his help and sharing his wisdom. He couldn't have done this without him. The next day, Anakin tells Palpatine that Obi-Wan has engaged General Grievous. Palpatine would console Anakin, who wishes he was there, and to Anakin's surprise, Palpatine would reveal himself as the Sith Lord. Anakin was taken aback and filled with anger. His friend and mentor was no more than the embodiment of evil, a Sith Lord. He never believed that the secret mission would ever amount to anything, but little did he know it would change the entire course of the war. Anakin would tell Palpatine he is going to turn him over to the Jedi Council. Instead of going to Windu with this news, he would run straight to Master Yoda and tell him everything. With Yoda here, things were very different. Yoda would gather Windu, Kit Fisto, Agen Kola, and Saesee Tiin and tell Anakin that he will come with them to the Chancellor's office, sensing the resolve and determination within him. The 6 of them enter and ignite their lightsabers, telling the Chancellor that he is under arrest. Palpatine snarls and tells Anakin that he is making a mistake, now his loved one will die. This caused Yoda's ears to twitch, but Yoda reassures him that the Sith are only manipulating him. There is no way he could know about the future, and his words are filled with lies. Sidious leaps forward and yells a Sith scream, disorientating the Jedi. This allowed him to murder Saesee Tiin, Agen Kola, and Kit Fisto immediately, leaving him alone with Anakin, Windu, and Yoda. Anakin was amazed at Palpatine's speed, leaping from one side of the room to the other in mere seconds. He was like a blur. But Yoda was able to keep up with him, and Windu used his own variant of the pod to render the dark side energy useless. Palpatine was losing, and Windu was able to knock his saber out of his hand, causing Anakin to deliver the final strike and kill the Sith Lord. Anakin had fulfilled the prophecy and brought balance to the Force. Windu looks over at Anakin and explains that he was wrong about him. He truly is powerful and a dedicated Jedi. Although he didn't say it outright, this was Windu's way of giving Anakin his thanks and praising him. Simultaneously, across the galaxy, Obi-Wan would kill Grievous and win the Battle of Utapau. With Sidious, Dooku, and Grievous dead, the Separatist Council would surrender and the Republic wins the Clone Wars. The news of Palpatine being behind the war sent shockwaves throughout Coruscant, and everyone was reminded why the Senate only allows 2 terms, and that never again will someone be able to extend this like Palpatine did. After the next election, Mena Tills, a Mon Calamari senator and member of the delegation of 2000, was elected as the Supreme Chancellor of the Republic and would work hard to restore balance to the galaxy following the war. After the conflict, Anakin was summoned to the center of the council chambers. It was here where Yoda proudly explained that Anakin has been granted the rank of Master, having passed the Jedi trial in the Chancellor's office. Anakin was extremely pleased and thanked the council. Peace had been restored to the galaxy, as the Jedi removed themselves as generals in the army and reverted back to their original role as peacekeepers. A few days after Palpatine's death, Padme would give birth to twins with Anakin by her side. They would be named Luke and Leia, and together they would become a happy family. Padme decided to leave the Senate and focus on becoming a full-time mother, knowing that her husband was working hard as a Jedi. When the twins began showing signs of Force sensitivity, Anakin would bring them to the Jedi Council. At first, they were worried about raising twins in the Order, knowing that they would grow up with strong attachments all around them. But Yoda was able to stand up on Anakin's behalf, explaining how the Chosen One was able to achieve balance even with a family. He motions to Ki-Adi-Mundi, who has a family of his own, as well as explaining the tale of Revan, a Jedi of old who held several attachments himself. Ultimately, it was allowed that the twins could be trained in the Jedi Order. Padme would still be a prominent part of their lives, having the twins still live at home on Coruscant and travel into the Jedi Temple every day for their classes. Anakin Skywalker had everything he ever wanted, a happy and safe family. He was a respected member of the Jedi Order, and he received his happily ever after. If you enjoyed today's video, you must watch What If Obi-Wan Was on Coruscant during Order 66, and What If Yoda Turned to the Dark Side. Please consider becoming a member for $1 a month, it really helps the channel out. I hope you all enjoyed, and may the Force be with you.
Yeah, that was Yoda was on Coruscant. So yeah. But then we have to Obi-Wan, yeah. Obi-Wan on Coruscant. That'll be the next one I'll be doing. I'll be reacting to that. Actually, I might react to that now. Alright, I just got done reacting to what if Yoda was on Coruscant doing Order 66. Now, since that's like a quick 15-minute video, I'm doing another video. What if Kenobi was on Coruscant doing Order 66? 66. And again, channel be in the description below again. Let's go again.
In Revenge of the Sith, one of the most pivotal moments was when Obi-Wan elected to go to Utapau and fight General Grievous. The consequence of this decision was that Anakin was left without his best friend and brother at a time when he needed him most. So in today's video, we are going to discuss a potential scenario that could have happened if Obi-Wan was on Coruscant during the time of Order 66. We begin today's story in the Jedi Council chambers, when the Order has just been notified of Grievous's position on Utapau. In the original timeline, Ki-Adi-Mundi suggests Kenobi as a possible general to lead the operation, but in today's story, we are going to say that he offers Shakti as the replacement. She was on Coruscant at the time and an extremely powerful Jedi Master who could definitely lead this mission. The council agrees and Master T leaves at once. As the scene cuts to the Chancellor's office, we are greeted by Anakin and Palpatine. Palpatine had his plan, and he knew that the culmination of all of his hard work was nearing. His goal was to manipulate Anakin Skywalker, and this had been the case for almost a decade now. He presented himself as a father figure to Anakin, carefully merging his way into his life and gaining his trust. Throughout the years, Palpatine positioned himself into Anakin's inner circle, and he became the person whom Anakin could confide his emotions in, without the judgment of the Jedi Council. With Anakin coming into the Order when he was 9 years old, he already had strong attachments in his life, which could definitely become difficult to forget. Palpatine knew this and used it to his advantage, always showing Anakin that there was another way and that he didn't need the Jedi. Within Palpatine's office, Anakin was extremely distraught and in need of dire assistance. That night, prior to now, Anakin had dreams of his secret wife, Padme Amidala, dying in childbirth. He had spent all morning figuring out what to do, and he had no idea. If he told someone, he would be expelled from the Jedi Order. Sidious, being the Sith Lord, knew exactly what was troubling him, and used this opportunity to tug at his heartstrings once more, explaining the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise, and how he can save others from death. Anakin was once again conflicted. Around this time, the Jedi Council received the gruesome news that General Grievous had killed Shakti in their duel, and all remaining clones were being extracted from the system, as without a Jedi General, they didn't have a leader. The Council were extremely upset by this. Grievous had slaughtered countless Jedi since the Clone Wars began, and this was arguably their best opportunity at silencing him. The Jedi Council sends Anakin to tell Palpatine of the news, to see how he reacts. They didn't trust him. They never had and always had a strong inclination of darkness that surrounded the Chancellor. Their worst fears were realized when in Palpatine's office, Sheev revealed himself as the Dark Lord of the Sith. Anakin was taken aback and ignited his sapphire lightsaber. He didn't know what to do. The man he had protested for had just betrayed everything that Anakin stood for. Palpatine could sense the conflict within Anakin as he eagerly awaited his response. He wondered if he had done enough to turn the boy to the dark side. He had manipulated the situation so that he was the only solution that Anakin had, but yet some doubt lingered. He once again mentioned the power to save Padme and protect his unborn child. Anakin deignited his lightsaber and Palpatine thought he had done it, but Anakin explained that he couldn't believe this and needed time alone. Sensing the internal conflict, Sidious let him go and knew that the boy would be back. Anakin didn't know what to do. He goes back to the Jedi Temple where he finds his master, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Anakin knows he has to tell his master it's the right thing to do. Turning Palpatine over to the Jedi Council could bring an end to the war. When Anakin arrives, Kenobi immediately senses a shift in Anakin's demeanor, and he can tell that something is wrong. He asks Anakin what is wrong, to which the Chosen One responds that he has learned a terrible truth. Palpatine is the Sith Lord. Obi-Wan is taken aback and couldn't believe it. He knew his masters on the council had a strong suspicion of Palpatine, but Kenobi never thought that the Chancellor would be Sidious. In perhaps Obi-Wan's most important moment of his life, he acts with calmness, stoicism, and most notably, wisdom. He noticed that Anakin seemed upset and not interested in revealing this information. Kenobi looked at his apprentice and reassures him, explaining that this was a good thing. Now they can go and arrest the Chancellor and put an end to the war. Anakin's voice broke and no words came out. Obi-Wan asked Anakin if he wanted the war to be over. He became increasingly concerned about his apprentice. Obi-Wan asked Anakin if this is all about Palpatine, or perhaps someone else. Anakin was confused and didn't know what he was referring to. Obi-Wan stands tall and stares directly into Anakin's eyes. He asks if it has anything to do why he's been so upset lately. Has it got anything to do with Padme Amidala? The second her name left his lips, Anakin's heart dropped and his head snapped upwards. He asked Obi-Wan how he knew about Padme, to which Obi-Wan responded that he had always known. Ever since he saw how Anakin acted around her when they were first on Coruscant together, he knew that he was in love. And for Anakin's sake, he didn't tell the council or anyone else because he believed in his best friend, in his brother, and he knew he would do what is right when the time came. Anakin was extremely confused and conflicted. Kenobi asks his apprentice to tell him everything. With reluctance, Anakin explains that he has been having premonitions of Padme dying in childbirth. Kenobi had already deduced that Anakin was the father, so he didn't try and act shocked. He was a wise and powerful master, and knew in this situation he had to take a step back and evaluate the situation as a whole, not getting judgmental and just listening to Anakin. Anakin explains that Palpatine has been helping him with these nightmares, saying that if he turns to the dark side, he can teach him how to save her. When Anakin mentions the name Darth Plagueis, Obi-Wan is immediately alarmed. Palpatine has been telling Anakin about a Sith Lord that even the Jedi don't have knowledge of. This was getting very dangerous. Anakin pours his emotions out, cursing the council for their ways and that if he joins Palpatine, he can save the one he loves. Obi-Wan tells Anakin that the Jedi aren't perfect. They make mistakes often, but they are doing what they think is right to protect the people of the Republic. Palpatine is not your friend. He is a Sith and a bad person. Obi-Wan reinforces the knowledge in Anakin that the Sith are manipulators and uses Palpatine as a prime example. Palpatine had been manipulating the entire Republic for over a decade now. He had pretended to help people, befriended Anakin, but only to use his power. He tells Anakin that Palpatine doesn't care about him and only cares about what he could give him. Sidious has given Anakin false hopes, and there is no proof that he can do what he has promised. What would Padme think about this, Anakin? Would she like what you are doing? Obi-Wan began to break through Anakin's shell. He knew that he was right, but Anakin was confused and scared. He just wanted to protect the ones he loved. Obi-Wan tells Anakin that they can go to the council together and explain all of this. The council will help him. It was in this moment, with Padme in his thoughts, that Anakin decided to stay in the light side of the Force. Having Obi-Wan on Coruscant was the difference for Anakin, and knowing the correct path to protect Padme the right way. However, as this happens, Palpatine senses a complete shift in the Force, and he knows that Anakin will not be turning to the dark side. Sidious had kept an eye on the Force presence around Anakin ever since he left his office. He was absolutely furious. 10 years of hard work and manipulation down the drain. But it didn't matter now. He still had one trump card left up his sleeve. Palpatine pulls out his comlink and executes Order 66, turning the clones against the Jedi. he sends General Grievous to lead the clones into the temple, beginning a massacre of the Jedi. As Anakin and Obi-Wan discuss what to do next, they hear blaster fire and lightsabers igniting. All of a sudden, a dozen clones enter the room and begin firing at the Jedi. They ignite their sapphire blades and block the incoming bolts before slicing the clones to the ground. When the last clone has been defeated, Anakin immediately tells Obi-Wan that they need to check on Padme. Without hesitation, they maneuver their way out of the war-torn temple, with bodies and debris falling all around them. Jumping into a speeder, they zoom straight to their apartment. Palpatine watched the flames and chaos from afar, smirking. For years he had dreamed of this moment. He thought of all the Jedi dying and collapsing across the galaxy. He savored this moment, as he knew he wouldn't feel like this again. As Anakin and Obi-Wan reached Padme's apartment, the couple hugged each other. She asked them if they were okay, motioning her hand towards the massive amounts of flames and smoke at the temple. They assure her that they are fine, but the Chancellor has implemented a plot to destroy the Jedi. If they don't hurry, the entire order will collapse. Padme asks Anakin if he needs to go back. She knows how dangerous it is in those halls, and she doesn't want to leave her children without a father. He kisses her forehead and promises her that he will be home soon, making her swear that she will stay inside the apartment until he returns. He needs to make sure that she is safe. Skywalker and Kenobi go back to the temple and enter what they can only describe as hell. Screams of anguish and desperation were etched into the walls. They didn't know where to look. All they saw were clones and dead Jedi. Before they could take in the sight which they were seeing, clone troopers began to fire at them, attempting to consume their life. Obi-Wan was a master of Form 3 fighting style, which specialized in the defense of blaster fire. There was no chance he would let a bolt through his defenses. Anakin was more aggressive. Instead of hanging back and blocking the bolts, he accelerated towards the clones, killing each one by one. He was disgusted by their betrayal and wanted to see them dead. The master and apprentice fought to protect each other and their comrades. As they fought throughout the temple, they would meet up with other Jedi along the way, forming a defense team. As they made their way into the room of 1,000 fountains, they found Drellic defending a group of younglings. After they helped him, he followed them through the temple. However, things took a turn for the worse when they entered the Great Hall. They are fighting clones when Anakin senses a dark presence looming. He stops as his senses become absolutely engulfed in darkness. But Anakin notices this too late as a figure emerges from the darkness and slices Anakin's robotic arm off. Before Anakin is killed, Obi-Wan uses the Force to push him back. If Obi-Wan didn't intervene, Anakin would be dead. The dark figure removes his hood to reveal Chancellor Palpatine, or better known as Darth Sidious. Anakin gets back to his feet. He has been compromised, but he can still fight with one hand. Behind them, a familiar face arrives, one scarred with complete hatred. It was Jedi Master Mace Windu, steeped in blood from head to toe. He had been fighting hard in the Jedi Temple, killing thousands of clones.
Check out these deals of the week at Walgreens.
He had been fighting hard in the Jedi Temple, killing thousands of clones. As Anakin, Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, and Drellic looked at Sidious, the Dark Lord of the Sith ignited a second lightsaber. They attacked the maniac, using all of their strength and power to prevail. Anakin had become the weakest in the duel, with only one arm, but he still worked hard to cause an annoyance for Palpatine. The fight was devastating and long. This was 5 Force-sensitive beings in their prime, fighting for their lives. Drellic would be the first to fall, as Drellic thrusts one of his blades through his chest and kills him. The others fight on, using their powers to combat Sidious. But Mace Windu was the difference. He channeled his own technique of the pod to overwhelm Sidious. In time, Sidious would not be able to hold off the combined onslaught from Windu, Skywalker, and Kenobi, and he fell to the floor with 3 lightsabers dug deep into his chest. The Sith Lord was dead. Their work isn't finished yet though. as the clones still operated like nothing had changed. The three move throughout the temple and notice that the number of clones is slowly going down. They are winning and they just need to prevail a little longer. On the other side of the Great Hall, they find Kelleran Beck and Kit Fisto standing over the dismantled droid body of General Grievous. He was dead too, but not cheaply, as he had murdered almost 1,000 Jedi himself. With time, they would be able to remove the clones from the temple and the Jedi would win. The Jedi meet Bail Organa and other senators who arrive at the entrance of the Jedi Temple. They were notified of the Chancellor's death and handed over security footage that showed he had murdered Jedi and was a Sith Lord. In the following weeks, all of Palpatine's secret operations as a Sith were exposed when the Jedi and senators had full access to his belongings. It was clear that he had orchestrated the Clone Wars and had tricked the entire Republic. The Senate executes Order 65 and Bail Organa is placed as the Provisional Supreme Chancellor until the next election. As for Anakin, he is allowed to stay in the Order after he and Obi-Wan tell them everything that happened the day of Order 66. This included his marriage and future child with Padme Amidala. The Council could see the pivotal difference that Anakin had made whilst defending the temple, and they knew that they would need him in the following years as the Jedi entered a period of rebuilding. In the following months, Anakin would be granted the rank of Master, and he would have full access to the restricted section, and his relationship with the Jedi Order would slowly grow. Anakin and Obi-Wan's bond would be the strongest it ever was. They were brothers, and always had each other's back. If it wasn't for Obi-Wan, Anakin would never have stayed in the light and been able to protect the Republic. Anakin Skywalker's future was set. He was a father, a husband, and an extremely wise and powerful Jedi Master. If you enjoyed today's video, you must watch what if Anakin spoke to Qui-Gon in Revenge of the Sith, and what if Anakin stopped during Order 66. Please consider becoming a member for $1 a month. It really helps the channel out. Thank you all for watching, and may the Force be with you.
And that's the end of that one. That's the end of that. Again, since both videos were about 16 to 15 minutes long, that's the only why I reacted to 2 videos, not just one. Alright? But again, this channel be in the description below when I react to watch both these videos yourself. And subscribe, like, and share to see more reactions like this in the future too. This channel be in the description below. And bye for now, until next time.